What is community-supported agriculture? It's a scheme where a farmer, usually it's either a small size or medium sized farm, will have a contract with 20, 40, maybe 50 clients that they put up money at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the season, maybe right now, for the whole year. So they buy their food in advance for the year, basically, with a fixed amount. And every week, usually some are every 2 weeks, but usually it's every week, you get a basket of vegetables, fruits, sometimes meat, depending on the farms, that is your family farm, of products that are being delivered, not to your house, but to a pickup point. It could be your workplace. It could be a local community center. All farms use a different model. One organization on which I'm a board member is Équiterre, which organized such a network in Quebec. The network has 100 farms. There's about 30,000 people involved in this. They are the matchmakers where they facilitate linking the consumer to those farms, but also they do some accompaniment of the farms to get started in the network. In the case of Équiterre, all those farms are organic, but community-supported agriculture can also, in other places, can involve non-organic certified farms. In Ottawa, if you go on the website of Just Food, this local organization have a list of 12 farms in the region that are community-supported agriculture, and therefore are currently looking for clients where you can register with them, pay them, and then you get your choice of vegetables. Usually those farms have very diversified crops. They are not one or two crops, so that you have quite a nice diversified set of food to eat every week. Where's that thing? Some even have flowers, but another model is another thing I'm involved in on the Quebec side. As I said, there's a lot of meat farms, and they all got together in an online market that's called le Marché de Solidarité Régionale de l'Outaouais. The thing with those baskets of food that you get every week, you don't choose. And some people don't like this model because they prefer to choose what they get instead of just getting whatever is harvested at this point. The online food market allows you to go to this website where there's 34 producers, and they have about 2,000 products. You go through the website and you choose what you want to order. Let's say right now is the ordering period until Sunday, and Friday I go pick it up at the pickup point they have at Downtown Hall, and I just pay that. The organization that is organizing to take a 10% amount out of that to pay for the pickup, the location. They have to rent an office, and they have to have a little bit of staff, not a lot, and the rest all go directly to the farmer. This is very diversified products. Yes, there's a lot of meat, but there's also cheese, honey. There's a lot of vegetables being produced. So some prepared food, like soup prepared with local pumpkin and sauce, breads. There's great bakeries. So this model, from my knowledge, there's not one on the Ottawa side. But it would be interesting to think, should we think about this model for our community as well, to facilitate access to food that is being produced already in the region? One thing that comes more to the policy side of things, and not just us as consumer taking action, is procurement of food. Many times in our day, we don't have a real choice in what we eat. I work at Carleton University. On campus, the choice is very limited. I cannot choose to eat local food. There's a Subway, and I cannot believe the students at Carleton have not they have not completely revolted themselves against the choice of food they're being offered, because it's a very, very weak quality. But beyond that, those cafeterias in universities, schools, offices, Tunis Pasteur of the cafeteria and so on, they could be very interesting instrument to increase local food production and consumption in our region, because there you can have a very well organized system of local procurement. So you can have agreements between the cafeterias and farmers saying, okay, you are going to produce our vegetables. And we could actually ask our governments to either create incentive or create standards saying you have an obligation to procure 10% of your food from local producer, or create an incentive, meaning either a fiscal incentive or other form of incentive to convince even your daycare. This Equita organization I'm involved with in Montreal, they were doing the garderie bio, organic daycare, which was local and organic food, facilitating daycare that they usually provide food to the children, to have local food in the meals, for most of the meals that was being offered to the children. Those incentive programs, they don't exist right now. So this is the type of thing you could be discussing how and where, what are the trigger, the lever that we can move now to see more of this local food accessible to me when I don't make my lunch because I'm too lazy, I go to the cafeteria and so on. Finally, I should mention that my presentation really focused on the consumption side of the food and not so much on the production side of the food. And there's also many obstacles to get more local food. The green belt is always threatened, and Paul, can tell you a lot more about that. But the green belt and the agricultural zones south of it, this is where we're going to have local food produced. If this becomes a very large, never-ending suburb, well, that's the end of local food, because it will have to come from further afield, since there will be no farms left. So the link between zoning, planning, urban, well, in that case, it's not urban design, but planning the land use of our community and the communities close by that produce food, that's really a key point of the consumption side of the equation. And that's really where also there's really big a role for public policy, because zoning, land use issues are all about public policy. And finally, just one of my personal pet problem is farming is not very valorized as a profession or as a career choice in our society. And that's really sad, because if we think about the environmental impact of agriculture, this is a very large creator of I was going to say a very large creator of pollution. That's the wrong thing to say. It has a very large impact on our ecosystem. And the choices farmers make, so the producers make, has a very large impact on water, the soil, so ecosystem impact. And we often forget that the farmers are really political actors in a way, because by making those choices. Yes, we can influence the farmer's choice by the consumer choice we make, but valorizing the profession and their capacity to influence environmental policy, basically, is really somewhere where I'd like us to go in terms of thinking a little bit. I put one question in the list you have there. What else could be done on the production, protecting the land for production, but also valorizing what farming does to our community? I'll stop here. Thank you very much.